Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Welcome to Featured Artists episode 4 here on Creative Source, where we're going to be taking a look at some of your music or some of the community's music, and I've got a couple of guests on here and we're going to have a bit of a chat about it. First of all, I just want to point to my what are they called? Sponsor. I knew I was going to stuff this up tonight. I'm just not with it. My sponsor up here, DistroKid, I just want to give a quick thanks to them. I will be mentioning them throughout the course of the show. And I want to say hi to the people who have already joined in the chat. Awesome to see you here. We've got some regulars in. We've even got Mr. Pete Johns in there. Pete Johns, there he is. I've just been watching him. It's like we've got a famous person in the chat there. Nice to see you here, Pete. And who else have we got here? We've got Mimo Japan. Now, Mimo is a moderator, so make sure you don't do anything you shouldn't do because he's going to kick your ass. So nice to see you here, Mimo. And I just want to say thanks to the people who have continued to send me music for this show. I'm getting a nice steady stream in. I'm going to try and get as many as I can in. And if you haven't been featured or haven't heard from me yet, don't worry. That doesn't mean you're not going to be on the show. I'll be going through many of them in the coming weeks and months, in fact, because I've decided to make this a kind of a regular spot. Now, if you do want to still enter some music in for this and have it talked about on the show, do follow the link in the description down below for that. Now, as for links for the people who are on this show tonight, or the artists who are on the show tonight, they will appear just after the show has finished. Okay, so you'll be able to follow those links and look at their music. And I just want to make a little bit of a comment on that. Some stuff is being streamed, okay? Well, all of it's in fact been streamed, but some of it's a stream of a stream. So we can suffer a little bit from quality at times. I apologise for that. It's just a nature of the beast. But anyway, we'll get through that. And the idea is to just discuss anything from the songwriting through to the production and the performance, all that kind of stuff. Should be fun, and hopefully you should learn something from it. Now, do make sure that you say hi if you are in the live chat, and can you do me a favour? Everyone who's in the live chat right now, could you all hit the like button right away? Apparently, the YouTube algorithm likes that, and it's going to show this to more people, and more people come in. So the more the merrier. Now, I have got two guests on the show tonight. And the first one I'm going to introduce you to is actually a little bit unusual for my guest, because he's not actually a music YouTuber. Let me explain. He's actually a really good friend of mine. He's been a friend of mine for, I think, about 25 years, something along those lines. And I've known him for most of that friendship to be an amazing songwriter and musician. We've worked on projects together. I'm going to give you a little sample of his work in a moment, but he's also got a YouTube channel which is nothing to do with music, which I'm just going to chat about a little bit to just show that to you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on my first guest. I know him as Brian. You can call him Brian if you want, but his screen name is Jackdog or Jackdogdude. How you going, Brian? Oh, you're muted. Let me unmute you. I'll unmute you, or you hang on.
Oh, I've got it. Oh, I've got it.
There he is. There he is. G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. The reason I muted myself was because I took a big mouthful of vape and then was coughing my lungs up. I was so glad your intro went so long.
Well, I'm glad we're off to that kind of start, aren't we? Hey, I'm glad we're off. I'm relaxed now. I can be myself. We're going to have some rubbish spoken on this show tonight. Listen, before talking about long intros, because I want to introduce my next guest, but before we do that, I just want to give you a proper introduction, and I want to do that through some music, okay? So this is a really old clip of some of your music, mate, and it sort of represents to me what you do in lots and lots of ways. And I'm going to just say this just to build it up a little bit. Great guitar playing, great vocals, and fantastic songwriting. The clip's old. The clip's really old. It looks like it was filmed, I don't know what resolution of camera that was filmed on, but the music's fantastic. Yeah,
I had hair as well at the time, which is that's kind of nice.
Anyway, folks, let's just have a quick listen to some of Jackdog's music here. We'll pop this up here. It's called Crazy.
I'm a little bit crazy, you don't mind. Ooh, baby, you can be so vague. It must be pure madness made us get involved. Though you made me crazy, I was crazy long before that. Look at how the moon.
I love the fact that you're so true to what you're doing there, because as that song progresses, it gets the most weird and wonderful sort of guitar licks and things, which really reflect the craziness of the song. And that's the way you think about your art, and I love that. So, well done,
Yeah,
mate.
well, actually, when I wrote the progression, I couldn't believe the chords that I could put next to each other, and they sounded correct. And in it, I've never seen those chords next to each other ever before, and that felt crazy. And then, so the progression actually inspired the lyric.
Wow, awesome. That's interesting you should say that, because one of the pieces of music we're going to look at tonight did exactly the same thing. We'll talk about
Wow.
the last one. The title of the piece was inspired by the nature of one of the riffs in it. Anyway.
Fascinating.
Now, it's nice to have a non-music YouTuber in here, like as you are, because it means there's a lot less ego on the show tonight than I normally have, which is just pleasant. It means there's a lot more space. But you are a YouTuber nonetheless. And I just want to quickly mention this for folks, especially if, I don't know if anyone in the chat is from the Melbourne, Victoria area, you'll like this a lot. But you've got a channel, do you want to tell me what it's about? What is
Okay, well, I've been riding an e-bike and a scooter all over Victoria thus far, just exploring how far I can go with it, and camping out as I go, staying away for sometimes weeks at a time, and figuring out, how can I get 120 kilometers in a day from a single e-bike, and stuff like that. And my scooter is it's like one of those pizza delivery scooters with a great big boot on the back that I can fit all my camping gear in. And to anyone who's interested out there, I've set myself a new challenge, which I'm going to do as soon as lockdown lifts. I'm going to hit the road, and I'm going to attempt to go around Australia using Menulog to fund me. So I'll rock up into a region, deliver pizzas until I can raise enough money to continue on the next leg. So I think it's going to be a fairly interesting journey, and I hope that some of you guys might tune in.
So cool. Let's have a quick look here. There he is. There you go. There you go. I love it. I love it. Love it.
On the back there,
Yeah.
that little black thing on the back,
I think this is going to be a short
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
that's a guitar, a pool cue, and a fishing rod.
It's just getting so cold.
I love it, man. I love it. Look, I'm not doing it justice just by playing that little clip there. I've got a link for it in the description down below. Guys, just check it out and subscribe to it. It's a good bit of fun, but what's really good, and our next guest pointed this out pre-show, some of the characters that you meet on your travels, it's kind of some of them proper Aussie characters, but some of them real creatives as well, which is really fascinating for the people who are in the chat here. So yeah, check the link out for Jackdog's channel there. Now we must move on quickly because these things get out of control in terms of time. I'm going to bring on my next guest, if I can find my next guest there. I don't know if my next guest is there. Let's just try this. Oh, there. I'm sorry, you guys can't see what I'm seeing. There we go.
Oh,
hello. Oh, you were playing a trick on me there, weren't you? Folks watching and in the live stream, this is Jade. How you going, Jade?
I'm doing well. Hey, I hope everyone's doing well in chat. I hope you're
This is
doing
your
well,
first time.
Jackdog.
This is your first time on my channel, actually, isn't it?
I know. What's going on? Why did it take so long?
I know, because I'm an asshole, and but you've been people know you from the chat, of course, because you've been in my live chat a fair amount, and I've been on your channel as a very special, very very special guest. I seem to remember,
kind of special, but
and But, I'm a big fan of yours, especially, I know that you're trying to help other people out, but I'm a huge fan of your own creativity, which is vast. We were talking about this a little bit earlier because you said there's one particular thing you maybe sometimes get pigeonholed for. But that set aside, I want to say that I've witnessed you do incredible stuff. Some of the stuff I couldn't play tonight because it's not really a song, but there was some stuff that you've done, performance art stuff, which is not just good, but incredibly moving and deep and really good. But you do have a channel. You do have a channel. It's called I know what it's called. It's called How to App. How to App on iOS. And it's called that, and it's great. But you do these shows where you perform a bit recently as well. I can't remember what you call those shows, but you do some performance. And I've just grabbed some clips from those to give people a representation. There's a wide array of what you do. Have a look at this, folks. This is Jade.
Georgia, the whole day through. Just how do I wake up every morning and even care less about myself?
You got a hunger for what you need. You take it eventually. You may, and I don't know, who am I? In the supermarket. Welcome to the supermarket.
I think that gives a really good representation of you, really, just the wide range of things which are you.
Yeah, I'm a demented old grandmother sometimes named Gladys, and sometimes I play soulful music. And yeah, it's all fun and games in the end. I just love playing music, whatever it is, anything. As long as it's got a story behind it and moves people, that's the most important thing at the end of the day, isn't it? And it connects us.
Absolutely. And I think comedy is a really valid genre of music that is not taken seriously, but comedy really needs to be taken more seriously.
Not too seriously. That particular show, I think I drank half a bottle of Gaviscon on that show. Gross.
So anyway, we're going to move on to the music. Now, as I've said, and just so the people in the audience know, there's going to be a wide range of people at different levels. This is not just about playing music from people who have recorded for years and have really got it down pat. This is also about giving people a chance to be heard if they're just starting out. Now, interestingly, when I first thought of doing this show, when I copied this idea of this show from other people, I thought that it was just going to be I'll just play music to give people exposure. But it's really turned into something different to that, and I'm glad it has, because that could be just a little bit boring. So this is really about us taking talking points. We're not judges. This is not a song contest. This is opinion, okay? And so we are going to critique the songs, the performance, the recording, and all that sort of stuff. But I'm going to try and give you guys a little bit of background about what's going on with this. Some of the artists have been able to give me some background, and I think that the context may be important for you. So I'm going to introduce this first one. This is, I don't know if it's definitely not the first rock song that we've had on, but it's a certain type of rock which I waited for Jade to be on the show for this, because I felt of all the people I knew, Jade was the most qualified to actually give a critique on this style of music. It's from a guy who's a regular on my channel called Ron Vi. Goes by a couple of different names, but Ron Vi. It's called Take It to the Metal, and we talked about this title earlier, didn't we, Jade? And I'll tell you now, the reason why he's called Take It to the Metal is because it's not really metal. It's rock. But it almost gets to metal, so it's Take It to the Metal.
Almost up to 11.
Almost up to 11. And Ron played guitar, produced the whole thing himself, mixed and mastered it, just as a little bit of background. I thought this was interesting. Have a listen to this. He used Stephen Slate drums, which I've featured on the channel a little bit. Interestingly, the music is in 4/4, but you'll feel like it's not at times. And he says it's because of the way he's playing, and I can see that, but you can comment on that later. And one of the things I thought was interesting when I first heard it, because I'm hearing a lot of songs that are played against the click track, and this obviously has quite reasonably extreme tempo changes in it, which is one of the reasons I wanted to play this song on the show tonight, so let's, without further ado, actually play the bloomin' song. Take It to the Metal from Ron Vi. Here we go.
Kings, we are immortal warriors. We have no fear of dying. Death doesn't matter to us anymore. The truth of anger has come out. Take it to the metal. Take it to the metal. Closer than before, stronger than before. We are the wild Norsemen of the North. We're here to steal and plunder, to take your evil for our rights. We are the wild Norsemen of the North. Carrying our swords into the battle, following our footsteps. This is night of evil, when fires are still burning. Take it to the metal. Take it to the metal. The youth band rising. We are here to fight and kill. Our battle cries for our forefathers, sailing in our own Take it to the metal. Take it to the metal. Closer than before, stronger than before. We shall raise our swords up high toward the skies. We shall swear an oath in blood to our forefathers who gave us spirits to fight in battle.
Whew, I feel overcome. I'm gonna go. I'm actually gonna go to Jack Dog first here.
Wow.
Save the best.
A number of things here. Look, a really clever arrangement with the timing. Like you said, 4/4 and sounds different. I mean, there's a change of sort of tempo and feel of the thing. It drops into a sort of a slow thing, and then it's hammering away. The singer has no roof on his voice. He just sing any note and then sing a harmony on top of it. I mean, like the harmonies were outstanding. I've been to Norway a couple of times and met up with a few true Vikings. I think the song was something to do with Vikings, and yeah, I could really envisage the singers and the band all wearing horns on their helmets and stuff, and it just, look, for me, it really did do what it sets out to do, and it was really entertaining too. If I saw that live, I think I'd be blown away.
Okay. Go for it, Jade Starr.
Well, look, I grew up with this type of music, so metal's my thing. I listened to a lot of, started off with, Iron Maiden and all that kind of stuff in the 80s, and, progressed to what I listen to now, a lot of death metal and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely got that 80s hair metal kind of thing to it. I do love what's been done with the, that you mentioned, that there's a lot of really cool changes in there to keep it fresh, because with that type of music it can drag really easy and get quite boring. My first band, I used to do those crazy high vocals just over the top all the time. It's very brave to do that kind of metal these days, because a lot of the metal scene's moved on from that, but there still is a market for it. If I want to talk about production, and I'm just going to, because it stuck out like something to me, the guitars were a bit low, and muddy within the entire mix, but whenever any solos or parts came over, you could really hear them. Drums sounded massive, lots of drums going on there, really great stuff there. The bass was pumping through it. I just found during the parts where it was just guitar, bass and drums, it's a little bit muddy in the mix. That you can really liven that up a little bit. It just stood out when the guitar bits came out, the solo bits come up. But yeah, pumping stuff. If I was at a club and this band rolled on and I was in the mood for some drinking, I'd be bashing my head around, playing some pool and having a good time. So, yeah, good stuff. Keep at it. Keep playing music.
Well, it seems like go for it, Jack.
Oh, I was going to say, for me, it just never got boring at any stage, because as soon as I was settling into it, it changed it up. And the melody, look, I'm old school, so metal is not where I choose on the dial when I'm, driving to the chemist. But for me, I just found it just quite...
The chemist. I know, it was random, wasn't it? I was like, okay, of all the places, when you're driving to...
Well, when I'm on the way to get my Gaviscon, and
ready,
well, you know what I mean. I don't make metal a normal part of my life, so I guess in some ways I'm unqualified to talk about this song. But all I can say is that I was thoroughly entertained by it.
So I'm going to be I'm going to be probably the bad guy here out of the three of us, and I didn't expect to be. But I'll preface this with exactly the same as what Jack Dog said, that this is not the type of music I normally listen to, although I really appreciate the energy in it, enormously. And I don't want to sound old, but when I was younger, perhaps I was closer to listening to that sort of music. So lots of things. I love the tempo changes. I love all of that stuff. I couldn't really fault the production. For me, I get what Jade is saying. Probably the guitar here and there could cut through, but I don't think it didn't affect my enjoyment of the music really at all. I want to say that I know there's a lot of cynicism out there amongst other producers, especially in the rock genre, about using computer or drums or fake drums, or however you want to say it, virtual drums. And I think this sort of thing really kind of blows that idea away. I think if it's well done, if it's well programmed, then it can be, for me, I thought the drums were actually particularly kicking in this. Now if I want to mention a negative, and I do, just for me personally, and this doesn't mean this is true, I felt like there was one verse too many in the middle section of the song, for me. And so I wasn't really... normally when I listen to music, I'm a lyrics kind of guy. I hook onto lyrics a bit. I wasn't really hooking onto the lyrics in here that much, but I was really enjoying the vibe. But it just felt to me like one, and that's just my opinion, one verse too many right in the middle. Ron, you don't have to take that opinion and run with it at all. I could be wrong, but there you go.
I think it's one of the things that because I'm not a fan of that particular metal. I grew up with it, but outgrew it very quickly. And I think with that particular style of metal, there can be that it can go on a little bit with a bit of length, because metal does have, because metal's not commercial. You know what I mean? It's never been confined to 3-minute kind of songs like commercial music. That it does have a tendency to go on a little bit sometimes. And, I'm in a band with Kev Hart at the moment. We're doing this Desir thing, and it's really ultra grindcore kind of really evil stuff. And we're only doing 2-minute songs. And in these 2 to 3 minute songs, there's about 18 riffs. It is crazy. If you're going to have a bunch of riffs and changes, drop a verse. It's good advice, Mike. It really is, because people nod off. They do nod off.
Unfortunately, the listening public is usually unforgiving. But, you know, look, I say this carefully because some of the music I've recorded myself, when I've gone back to listen to it, I thought, oh, that dragged on a little bit. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I think we're all guilty of that.
We all can be guilty. Definitely. So that's a good start to the show, though. I like the energy there. Energy was really, really, really good. So I'm just going to mention.
Sorry, Mike. If I could just, how long was the song?
Just let me just chuck it up here again a second. Let's have a look. There it is.
5 minutes.
It was.
That's my guess.
Somewhere in the region of 3 minutes 40, which is not long.
There you go.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a good length.
Really not that long.
No.
It seemed like longer. Probably because of the changes, because it had that drop in speed at the end as well.
Sure.
I think, you know, that's what he's obviously tried to do to make it not seem as long, to put in as that nice little drop at the end there.
Yeah. I like that one at the end particularly. That was one of the best changes up. You know, really good.
For me, I'm surprised it's so short because it felt like it took me on a full-on journey, and I expected it to be 5 minutes. That for me passed and felt like 3.5, but no, I was actually correct.
Okay, I'm going to try and get my head around that.
Yeah.
While we're all trying to get our head around what Jack Dog just saying there, I just want to mention something for those of you who are bringing out music. I think one of the healthiest things you can do, and I know you guys would probably agree with, is actually release your music. Don't be keeping your music all the time on your computer in your studio. And even if you may be ashamed of it 5 years down the line, get it out there. It's one of the best ways to develop as an artist, I feel, and you just move on from it, right? And that takes me to my sponsor, DistroKid, because you can release your music through them. If you could do the honest, Jack, of pointing to the link up above. If you use my link, you'll get 7% off of the general price for DistroKid, which is only $19.99 anyway. For DistroKid at $19.99, you can release an unlimited number of tracks per year. You don't get charged per song. And they don't take any cut of your royalties. Okay, that's important to understand. They don't take a cut of your royalties. So DistroKid, I'm just trying to find a clip here, guys. I'm so sorry. I'm faffing around and talking here because I can't find the clip. I'm so sorry. But DistroKid, it's really easy to release music with them. I'll just try and grab the clip. Hang in there, and I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration. There we go. Let's pull this up. Come on, do it for me, technology. Do it for me. Maybe it's this one. No, that's another clip. Forget it. Oh, here we are. Here we are. I'm releasing a track on DistroKid. You can see all you really need is the actual track itself, obviously, and then some album art, which I was putting together there. You sign into your DistroKid and you fill out a form. It's one of those really sort of clever forms that it knows when you've done something wrong, and it knows what you need to put in there and all that sort of stuff. Have you released stuff through DistroKid, Jade? You have, haven't you?
Yes, I have tons of music out. I have 7 different artists on DistroKid. Multiple albums.
There you go. So it's releasing stuff, just like I say, album art, your actual track, and then you fill out this form. It generally takes like a few minutes to actually do it at the most. It's not a complicated thing. And they then will go ahead and release it to all of the platforms that you want to release to. Generally, I find it takes a few days before you appear on those platforms. I know some people have said it takes a little longer, but my experience has been anything from 1, 2 to 3 days before you're on most of the well-known ones. Anyway, that's DistroKid. If you haven't used them, if you haven't released your music, get on and do it. It's not anywhere near as hard as you think. Let's move on to the next song. Jeez, I hope things go a bit smoother for me on the technical side this time. I've got to try. So this one, guys, is much more perhaps down Jack Dog's kind of style of music. I'm going to say, having known you for 25 years. Oh, it's been a long journey, hasn't it, man? We were young men when we started out. Anyway, so this is a debut kind of a thing because this guy, Matt, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Matt Assels, I think. This song, If Only, is the first time for him to record any of his songs. He was saying that he found the mastering particularly difficult, trying to get that balance between loudness and dynamic range, right, which is often the issue with mastering. So he ended up using 3 limiters stacked. I don't do that, but we'll discuss that a little bit afterwards. And he was saying it was one of the most difficult things he found was actually getting time to do it. He's married, he's got 4 children, and all that stuff. Now, just as a little backdrop, I actually did approach Matt for the original recording of this because I found that the recording on SoundCloud, which is what he had it streaming through, was not that great. But I still wanted to play his music, and I did ask him, but unfortunately his PC decided to die this week, and all of his work is gone, so he won't be able to supply with this stuff. So we're just going to take it in the quality. There's a little bit of it sounds a little bit 8-bit here and there, but let's listen to the song in terms of the song and the arrangement the best we can in terms of what we can get from it. It's got a little clip with it. Let's have a look.
For so long,
I'll go back to the beginning.
stuck out on the edge for so long, longer than you never knew. And I don't even know how to say more than 3 words to you. Head down and awkward most of the time, like a shy kid in high school. Just a dreamer wishing on the day when, like the sun, I could plant a warm kiss on you. Such an easy climb.
Okay, so there we go. Jade, what's the thoughts?
Well, it's a good look. It's a solid song. You know, the song's interesting. Got a real Counting Crows vibe to it. Look, it's hard to say with the production because it's got that real digitized. It sounds like it's gone. Had some. It sounds like a song that's been through a few iterations of downgrading, sampling, and stuff like that. So that's unfortunate. It's hard to say with it because you know you can't get an idea of exactly what's going on with the Sonics. The Sonics were just up the shit with that particular recording. But look, it's interesting, you know, with that last song we looked at, how that felt like it, to me, was like 5 minutes. That one felt like it could have ended a lot shorter for me because it's an acoustic song. I thought when it ended and then went into the guitar solo, I was like, oh, that would have been the perfect end for me. It really would have been.
Yep.
And then it kind of come back and went, all right, we've still got a bit more to go. Definitely, I think, in my opinion, it could have been shortened out. But, you know, hey, look, a solid song. You know, there's nothing bad about it. There's definitely a lot of feeling in it. And you know, it's something that resonated as a artist song. Just unfortunate that the quality of the recording is mainly the vocals that were just sonically just screwy. So I'd love to hear it like re-recorded, or you know, in its sonically decent version. And I don't know if there is one or not. You said like you reached out and there could have been one, but he couldn't find it. Or...
I mean, without wanting to preempt, because I want to hear what Jackdog said, but one of my main thoughts was I was yearning to hear the song in the quality that it deserves in terms of recording. I felt, but we'll get back to that. I'll listen to. We'll hear what Jack's got to say. First, man, what are you reckoning?
Well, you know, often simple songs are great songs, and that what was that, a 4-quarter or something like that? Yeah, there's a lot you can do with just a really simple progression. I felt that the melody, he could have explored more options with the melody. You know, I think it'd be a lovely song to have in the car when you're driving down a country road. No bother. I've got problems with the recording too. The vocals are so digitally glassy and stuff like that. And I think that sometimes you can tell when someone has recorded the whole song, every instrument themselves, because it lacks the input from other people in a way. And I was definitely getting that vibe from it. And obviously the film clip sort of suggests that he put it all together himself as well. As far as the aside from the recording, the tone of his voice, I quite liked that. Some of the diction was difficult to hear, but I did like what I could just generally gauge as his tone. It's kind of nice, laid back sort of feel. It's definitely not an end product, and I would definitely suggest that that song could be better represented with a lot less gear involved. Like, just record it much more simply, and just don't even bother with all the compression and the multi pedals and all the effects that he's running everything through. At the end of the day, he spoiled the soup there, I think.
So yeah, I mean, I think we're all pretty much in agreement. I had exactly the same thought as you. Like, if this song was in my car, particularly, like, I'm thinking on a summer's day, I'm driving down the road. This is wonderful, you know, and the influences are not hard to hear as well there, with that sort of slightly old school country rock kind of a thing going, which I don't mind at all. And even though I'm normally a lyrics guy and the diction wasn't fantastic in this, I didn't kind of mind that too much, you know, in the same way I don't mind REM kind of thing, you know, who knows what the hell Stipe is singing or what he's singing, but I don't mind the music, so it doesn't matter. But I guess part of the reason why I went ahead and played this, because I second thought about having this on the show because of that quality. But I kind of wanted to say to Matt, as a point of encouragement, really, you should not be put off by the fact that the sonic quality hasn't turned out here. If this is your first song, you should be recording more.
Absolutely.
songs, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There's a lot of people start off in a worse with their worst starting place than this, I can promise you. So that's really good. But it sort of brings me to a bit of an exception of the rule, because I've said on many, many shows before that the song is the most important thing. and I'm hinted at, think about production second, song first, which I still stand by. But on rare occasions, the poor production can actually really spoil the enjoyment of a good song. And that's bordering on that here. I don't mean to be cruel to you here, Matt, but definitely your playing is great. I love your expression and all that sort of stuff. But sonically, we've suffered a bit there. I suspect it's just the last point in that mastering. I don't know whether, obviously I haven't heard the original file before it's been streamed and digitized. It could be something like dithering was needed or something like that, but it's definitely on the vocals more than anything else.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go on a bit, guys, but I don't know if you picked up on this. The other thing I thought was interesting was when the whole band came in, it was like really sudden. We went from acoustic guitar, like, bang, they were in. There was no, I think someone may have mentioned it in the comments there that they might have liked to have seen a bit of a drum fill when things came in or something like that. What are your thoughts on things like that? Do you have to do that, or was it good the way it suddenly came in? What were your feelings?
For me, it felt like the recording was joined almost in those places. Even at the end there, when it came out of that heavy section and back into a more acoustic, lighter feel, it almost felt like it was pasted together somehow. I mean, maybe my ears were playing tricks, but I wondered whether the tempo was just minusculely different between those sections.
May have been that, I mean, some of the Beatles did a lot, actually. Anyway, that was 50 years ago.
Look, at the end of the day, I'd really want to encourage Mark to keep going, because if that's his first attempt at recording, oh my God, you're having fun and you're playing around and you're learning so much. And I know the rubbish that I've produced to get anywhere near what I would consider a halfway decent piece of music is, it takes time and effort. And so, look, don't give up. Keep going.
Absolutely, yeah. And look, some of the best advice, I don't know if this is the first song he's recorded in a home studio, if he's been in another studio before. Some of the, just touching on what Jack Dog said as well, some of the best advice I ever had from going to a studio, because I've recorded in lots of actual pro studios in my time. But I actually just, for one of my albums, I went to a pro studio just to pay the engineer, just to get an opinion on the songs. And some of the best advice I ever got was, from that session of just hanging out for an hour and a half, playing my songs, never intended to use him to record anything, he did say, you might want to pull back some of this stuff. It's always a good idea to, once you get to the end of your song, just be a little bit picky and just take some of that stuff out, and then it won't maybe sound like there's an explosion of a band coming in, It's the subtleties of acoustic rock music or country music that make the song beautiful, and then you're not worrying so much about so many parts sonically. If you're just starting out, it's a good thing to do, to pull back a little bit at the end and then just focus on a smaller mix, and you'll probably come up with a better mix. For a first recording, keep going, man. Rock it out.
Yeah.
Keep going more.
I've made all of those mistakes myself, and I made them several times.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I will say the one thing that struck me, and I think it was to do with the quality of the recording, but I kept hearing like the snare and how little snap their snare had in it. It was like this really what you're going to call lo-fi, and I have to say it grew on me a little bit. So Matt, if you're watching, you may not want to make things too perfect, because there's something a little bit charming about this slightly scratchy feel about it as well. So it's a taste thing, I know, but I kind of, after I'd heard the song like the fourth or fifth time, I thought, quite like the sound of that sort of muffled snare in there.
Yeah, it has a personality, and perfection ends up to be boring. So
absolutely.
Keep your.
It doesn't exist either. So perfection.
Yeah, I guess
if you're
so,
chasing it, you may as well chase your tail.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something a bit rude there for a moment.
Well, I was going to say, if you've got one of those things that you can use, as those modern these kids use these days.
Chasing tail is something that's way behind me now. That's a weird.
I've gone down a way different path. I'm not gonna elaborate.
Boy, I think we better move on. This song. I don't have too much information. Now, I'm at pains to remind my guests, and indeed people watching, that I know that most of us are in the frame of mind of writing a song, a contemporary song, like it's got lyrics and it's kind of 3 to 5 minutes long and da-da-da-da-da. But I always want to try and remind people there's many different types of music which is being written, right? As Jack mentioned earlier, there's comedy music. Some music is just meant for dancing too. I know not maybe for us older people, but some people just want to hear a bit of dance. And another, I think, very valid form of music is, it's something that I've tried to do here and there, which is kind of like backing music, really. The sort of thing that YouTubers might actually purchase to have in the background with some B-roll and that kind of thing, And if you ever try and do it, you may write it off and think, well, it's just the easy part, isn't it? Just the backing. There's actually a bit of an art to it for it to be actually useful to people. So I think that's how I've said this. Now this poor guy's thinking, carry on, Jack. What were you going to say?
Well, look, you saying that is just kicks me in the butt because, Mark, if you want to send me that song, I will use it in my on my channel behind one of my scooter or e-bike adventures as with some B-roll. No problems.
Oh, sorry, I'll just correct on his name though, Matt. Okay, but
Matt.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt.
No worries. Yeah, good. Absolutely good point. So the next one that we're going to listen to is from a guy called Ben LeBron. It's called Far From Home, and he has lots of music on his website which he leases. So you'll see when the website comes up, it's not the kind of prices you would normally associate with one track, because he's got these different, people can lease it for movie music or YouTube or what have you. So that just gives you a little bit of context, guys. Now, he says that he struggles with mixes a lot. He just struggles with mixes, and he says particularly if he ever tries to put a vocal on there, then he feels like the whole thing falls apart. We'll talk about that after we've had a listen to it. It's called Far From Home. Now, before I grab you guys' opinion on this, I just want to say this: I do this show through a quick thing called StreamYard, okay, and I pay the extra bucks to get stereo, and there's no freaking way that was stereo as I'm listening to it there. That was just horridly mono. So if anyone's watching from StreamYard, I'm going to replay this show, get it on some meters, and I'm going to check it, because there's no way anything's coming out in stereo, even though, let me just check my settings there. Yes, I've got it set up for stereo. And that's a shame, because I've got to tell you guys, I've listened to this track. Obviously, the WAV file was sent to me, and we're not getting the justice for this sonically whatsoever. Anyway, we'll get back to that. So sorry for the folks.
That's a shame. That's a real shame, because actually it would have been my main criticism of the track is that it just didn't sonically bounce around and you take advantage of the stereo field, but obviously we're not hearing it correctly. I found it a really interesting piece of music, generally speaking. I don't have too much to say about the recording of it because I can't appreciate the stereo nature of it. That means it just sounded really compressed, like the highs and lows were all the same volume to kind of. So that, I'd love to hear it in full stereo. I think it would be a game changer.
Yeah, and I'll encourage people. I will be putting the link in the description after the show, and even when you go to Ben's site there, you can hear it in much more glory than we were hearing it there. But it's a bit of a shame. Everyone's suffering the same thing, unfortunately. So at least it's level.
It's a really dynamic, potentially dynamic, interesting piece, and I can definitely see that being used in film for B-roll or. Definitely the application for that piece of music is fantastic.
Jade, you seem to have tried everything in your life in all kinds of different ways. Have you tried to write sort of backing music and stuff, all that sort of stuff that would go along with B-roll and all that kind of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I've done, as you said, I've done most things. I've voiceovers. I've done music for backing tracks, things like that. I make backing tracks in GarageBand and stuff for the covers that I do, so I don't get copyright claims. Look, and with that particular song, what I found hard, it is electronic music at the end of the day, because that's how it's made. And it's made to be, clearly those kind of backing tracks are made to sit in the background of B-roll and things, and not steal from the content that you're actually viewing. They're meant to complement it. So as a song, it's really hard to judge as a song. I do think there's a lot of compression in there too. I saw somebody write with the drops. It seemed like every time there was a drop in there was some just over compression going on. Hard to say with the sound again. I said this to you before the show with a lot of these streaming services that they're saying that they're stereo, but they're not.
I'll be checking the replay and getting on some meters to have a look at that, because I'm sure that's not stereo, and I'll get onto them because that's appalling. And
a song like that needs to have things bouncing around and have you want to hear parts over here in the back, because it's a almost orchestral piece. It's got things going on. It's got drops. It's got all these all these velocities happening at the same time. So it's sad that we can't hear that, but if it's all in there, I would love to hear it, go and listen to it afterwards, because I'm sure it's going to sound a lot better. But for what it does, as a song, for being used as backing, as B-roll, that kind of thing, absolutely lovely. It's got a familiarity about it too. There's quite a few other songs you could kind of hear little bits from. I don't even know the names of them. But, there's a familiarity about that song that is just going to slot in to a where it needs to for a backing quite wonderfully. So I think definitely, I don't know how many of these he's made, if this is if there's a lot of them.
There's a few on his site already. I seem to remember about 20 or so on there. So
I'm just glad that it didn't.
If they're being, how they're selling, I'd be interested to know how it goes from as well, because it's an interesting business to get into.
I'm just glad there's not some sort of helium sounding foreign voice singing weird stuff over the top of it, like you hear on so many YouTube clips, you know. Yeah, that sort of helium sound. But look, I've got a friend called Claude, and he's mad on the synth, and he really is kind of like a mad inventor. His hair is crazy, and he does amazing work, and that really put me in mind of him, because there was some real artistic and some real hard work went into that piece.
There was a lot of hard work in there, and it highlighted for me something musically, which I wanted to mention, which is when if you think about chords, melody, rhythm, right? But one thing that always strikes me, you can take a very repetitive melody, which actually there was a very repetitive melody, but if you're changing everything else underneath it all the time, the chord progressions, the rhythms, the arrangement, it can still be interesting, even though it's on paper very repetitive melody, and I think he really succeeded in doing that. I'm going to address just the issue of why he may be having issues putting vocals with these things and why that throws him out, unless you want to, either one of you guys want to throw in something there about that subject.
Why he's not putting vocals in?
Well, he's saying that when he does, he's got this sort of music, he's okay like this, but when he has a go at then adding vocals to this, he feels like the mix then completely falls apart.
Well, when you add vocals, then you have to add a lyric and a melody. Otherwise, I guess you don't have to add lyric. You can just do a helium voice.
when you add vocals to a song like that, then you've got to sonically reorganize the song, because there's so many parts in there.
Yeah,
that's when
just
your EQing
the voice
becomes
in there.
Yeah, because you've got to fit in the vocal line. Even if it's got lyrics, or it's just oohs and ahs or whatever it is that's in there. Then you have to change the entire landscape of the song and really begin to EQ. And he's probably not. I don't know if he has experience with EQing music around that. But that's, I don't know. Does he want to put vocals into something like that if it's backing music?
I think I'd probably other pieces of music.
Obviously for other things, yeah.
I think I would find it incredibly difficult to write a melody and sing over something like that. It's not an easy thing to do. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to suggest this as a experiment to anyone who has this issue, because I find a lot of people are continuously talking about fitting the vocal in and struggling with fitting the vocal in. And something I started doing not too many years back is actually when I was mixing, starting off with the vocal first and bringing everything else up underneath it. So every other YouTuber who talks about mixing is always going to start off with, we'll start off with the kick drum and the bass and then the guitars, and then we'll build up the rhythm section and da-da-da, and then you finish off with a vocal. And I think that's where you end up fighting. So I've found it really, really useful to actually have all your faders down, get your vocal up first as the first thing, and then bring everything else in to complement it, rather than trying to kind of wedge it into everything else already existing. It's a different way of doing it. And for those of you in the chat who do struggle making your vocals fit, try it once. Once I tried it once, I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this every single time. So I never, ever start off with the kick and the bass first. That's something
agree
with
you, Mike.
Yeah.
Definitely. You've got to decide in the beginning of the song, is this going to be a vocally driven song, or is this a musically driven song?
Yeah.
So if it's a vocally driven song, the vocal has to be up front, and everything's got to bring that up, be a lovely cushion underneath those vocals and make those pop. If you're trying to add them last and you've already got a massive song, it's like, what's a good analogy? That's disgusting. Just it's like piling too much shit onto a garden of flowers. It's just not going to work. Flowers not going to come through.
With a piece like that, you might end up just with a hook, because you don't need verses and a bridge and a chorus, because you just got a hook and that is the chorus. And so the progression comes around to a certain point, Gangnam Style, and then you're off again.
Absolutely. I enjoyed the drops in this. I loved them. I know some people have said have made comment personally, just to give my 2 cents on that. I just love that big couple of drops it had in there.
Yeah.
They were great drops. They just could have been just a little bit less compressed.
So definitely one, if you're interested, guys, to check out the links in the description later. You will hear that I think Ben, overall, because I'm the only one out of us three and anyone here who's actually heard the original, you actually have a really good idea about what you're doing sonically already. We can all do with refining. And the only thing I'd say, if you're saying, because he mentioned to me he's really struggling with mixing, I don't necessarily think you are. I think you're just too close to it and you just needed someone else's opinion to say you're doing okay. Because I don't necessarily think that there's any massive degrees of improvement that could be done there. There you go.
I'm interested to know, Mike, how people get their music into YouTube's music selection to be able to use as copyright-free music. I'm very interested to know how that happens. I need to look into it.
I actually don't know that, to be honest with you, within that music section. I will say, though, that, and this is why I sort of spoke this up a little bit at the beginning, because there's quite a big selection of music that you can use for free. And I've found, I do quite a lot of B-roll stuff with some voiceovers in my videos, and about 99% of it is utterly useless. Even for a simple task like that. Even though on the face of it, they can seem like nice pieces of music. Sonically, they don't work. For example, if there's a lot of really high frequency stuff in there, or even mid to high frequency stuff, snares and things like that, it can really get in the way of the human voice and be really distracting. There's almost a way of producing it. Of course, I do things to it to try and make it fit. I do EQ whole tracks and things, but you want a good starting point. So for that particular purpose, if there is going to be a voiceover, there's got to be something about it which is actually a little bit subdued, and interestingly, not too boring. That can get really irritating if you're really hearing something too repetitive underneath even 2 or 3 minutes of film clips. So, yeah, I struggle to find good stuff in there. That's why I use the same 3 pieces in every single video.
There's a lot of YouTubers who use, what's that style of music? Oh, man. I can't even think of what it's called. It's like, oh, man, forget it. My brain's not working. It's
gone.
But there does seem to be a lot of YouTube channels who do use very similar. Like there's one particular song that I see used by so many YouTube channels. Chandler's Wildlife, they all use the same thing. Brian Barczyk's Snake channel, they use the same song across all these channels. And every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, am I watching this channel? It gets a bit confusing that people use the same music. And I've gone through it, and I've downloaded some of it and put it on my Stream Deck here, and some of the stuff that I use is for really cheesy like shopping center songs for when I'm showing off like gear that I use and just have a laugh. And it works great for that. Yeah, real like home shopping TV stuff. Like it's really horrible.
And then there's the sort of the anime sort of version of music as well. That's sort of this mass-produced sort of you hear it constantly.
It's perfect for that, but I wouldn't use it for anything else. It's like only for a joke. That's terrible. Using it for a joke.
Well, as I say, each kind of music has its place in a way, and maybe it depends on their intention, I suppose. You could intentionally write some really cheesy shopping music, and if you've pulled it off with that intention, then it's a success, isn't it? I mean, but yeah, I suspect some of it isn't intentional. Anyway, moving on, we're actually going to go with a cover next. I wanted to mention this. This is not a songwriting sort of show, although songwriting is inevitably going to affect our opinion. But if you do want to send covers in and you want to have us sort of have a look at them, this is supposed to be a little bit more about production than anything else. So I don't mind receiving some covers, although most things I receive original works, and of course I encourage that. But the next one we're going to look at is a cover, and it's a little bit of a different spin on a really well-known song, and it gives me an opportunity to mention, Brian, if you could just point your finger straight up in the air to my sponsor, or Jackdog I should say. Yes. If you do sign up with DistroKid, you can release covers. Now, one of the things I wanted to release some covers at some point. Yeah, there you go. I wanted to release some covers at some point, and it really sort of surprised me at how easy it is. If you're thinking that... Thanks, Jack. If you're thinking that sort of, it's going to be a hassle releasing a cover, you need to get permission to do things and all that. I believe it used to be a real hassle, but they make it really, really easy. You just have to make sure you find out who the original writers were, tell DistroKid about it, and you do have to pay. Oh, we've got echo.
Sorry. I was doing my shopping centre music. I was just selling shit.
There you go. Yeah, that's good. I like it. Do it. So, yeah, there we go. Oh, yeah. DistroKid. So the thing is, if you do want to sell things with DistroKid, they take care of all this stuff, obtaining the license. All right, Jade, you can switch that off now. Thanks very much. They get the licenses for you. They pay the original songwriters every month. They keep you, you get up to date with the copyright laws affecting music. It costs $12 per year per song. I don't think that's too bad, considering that when I've done this, and I did release a sort of a EP with me and Susie of some covers we did, just for fun to see what it's like. And it was really, really easy. Like, you don't have to do anything, basically. It does take longer for your songs to get out into the wild while they obtain the permissions and things. I seem to remember it took maybe around about 2 weeks or so for the ones that I did before they got out into the wild. I hear people complaining about the $12 per year. I don't know what's wrong with you. $12 per year so that you can play somebody else's music is actually really, really cheap. And we do want to make sure that the original songwriters do get remunerated for their effort and their work. So I think you're going a bit cheap if you reckon you should get it cheaper than $12 a year. That's my opinion anyway. It didn't sound very salesy, did it?
me and Pete Johns did a cover together.
Oh yeah, which one did you do?
So I wrote the music for, there it is, so for Ben Folds' Smoke. So I wrote all the music and got Pete to sing the main vocal, and then I did the harmonies for it, and we released it on DistroKid. And yeah, it was a fun experience. It was actually a really fun experience doing it. It did take about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get sent like your mechanical license and all this stuff. It's really interesting.
It's
But it was
easy,
fun.
isn't it? They just
Yeah.
just upload your song and they take care of it. So
And
I don't mind that.
it's a way of paying your favourite artists. You know, like I recorded a cover song, a James Taylor song years ago, and I loved the fact that I got to pay him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's, it's great that they're getting compensated as you would like to be compensated if somebody else sung your song. Talking about, doing covers, I mentioned on a show a couple of weeks ago, it can be really a good idea to record covers, and I don't encourage releasing copies very accurate, but it can be fun to try and replicate a song sonically, a cover, and try and do it exactly as the original. As I say, I don't advocate releasing that. I think whenever you release a cover, it should be your own spin in terms of all kinds of ways. It could be production, it could be arrangement, just the way you perform it and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I think if you're starting out, have a go at some covers, some songs you know really, really well and you sonically know them well, and just try and use your ears to figure out how they achieved certain qualities. Let's go on to this cover. This is from an artist. I like the artist titles. It's called Shift Faces. Have you ever been shift faced, Jack?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, the main guy who's put this together is a friend of the channel called Pat Jackman. He's in the chat there at the moment. Yes. And Pat has a bit of a long history playing ska music. Now, for young folk who have never heard of ska music, it's a little bit of a sort of a precursor to reggae, really. There's a slight difference. You'll hear some reggae in it when you hear it. But I know Jack loves this kind of music. He was in a band, I think, with his brother in the 90s, and they were the first Irish band to release a ska album called Dropped. He has since got back into recording again. He was a producer during the 90s, but he left it for a bit, back into recording again. He uses Reaper now. And the song that we're about to listen to was a lockdown song. So he put a thing out on Facebook and said to people, hey, let's have a song challenge. A bunch of people sent things in, like drums, vocals, blah, blah, blah. Even some things I think were recorded on a phone. Jack, I know you tried to do this a few months ago, and it's not an easy task, is it, to kind of gather all these bits and pieces together and put it into one cohesive piece of music? Did you find that it was difficult?
Yeah. Well, it's I used to, like you guys, have a home studio and used to collect a whole bunch of gear, and then it turns out that it's all really old stuff now. So you guys are up with the digital era, and I sort of, all my recording dreams went out the window with a lot of the analog stuff. But recording just using the simplest tool that's available to you is your phone these days. So yeah, and just putting things like that, just learning the technology. It's a little challenge, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, cool. So he was saying he had to sort of stretch some of these tracks around. So given we talked about sonic quality here quite a bit, again, this is going to be another one. It's not quite as good as the original. I listened to the original today. Pat sent it through to me. It was definitely better than what SoundCloud were offering. But as a final comment before I bring the song up, I just want to do a quote from Pat. He says, "I know it sounds shite, but I'm at the limits of my abilities, so your harshest criticism would be most welcome." There you go. Let's have a listen. Toxic.
Baby, can't you see I'm calling? A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous, I'm falling. There's no escape, I can't wait, I need a hit. Baby, give me it. You're dangerous, I'm loving it.
I'm on the run. You're toxic, I'm slipping under.
Okay.
Yeah, that was hot.
You like that, did you, Jade?
All right, look, we talked about this at the start of the show. With music, you can sit here and you can fart around talking about production all you want, but if something just hits you in the feels and you just want to move around to it, you throw all that crap out the window, and you don't need to sit there and wank on about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, right.
As a beautiful rendition of the song. I love covers that take a cover and apart, turn it upside down, and make it their own. There's too many artists who just rip out the original song and think that's enough, and it's not enough. So there's so many beautiful parts in there that came in. As soon as all the vocals at the end, they had those harmonies happening. The horns were lovely. Just fantastic. Gonna go and listen to this definitely afterwards and get some stereo sound because, we've discussed this already. I want to listen to that again, and that's all that matters with music, isn't it, at the end of the day?
Yeah,
like,
right.
mate,
Definitely, that's what I was
couldn't
feeling
stop my
right
head
at the end.
moving.
I was like, "Can we play that again?" Because I was just feeling happy. But anyway, Jack, here you go. I saw you bopping a bit.
Yeah, look, for me it was great fun, and I have the advantage of never having heard the original because actually I've sort of concerned myself with running thousands of open mic nights over the years and talking to people online about original music. And I actually, when I drive anywhere, I don't listen to music. It's weird. I much prefer to listen to talk back. Or just the news or something like that. It's because I want to actually sort of free my head from what's been going on, and I literally haven't listened to any music for about 20 years, I suppose. Not that that's not original. So for me, listening to that track, it was as good as the original because I haven't heard it, and for me, it was great harmonies, really fun horn section. The whole production popped for me. Again, stereo would be good, but look, I just thought, fabulous fun.
I just quick point. I'm the same as you. I don't listen to music in the car at all. I never ever listen to any music. It's like music all day long. Give me some silence or just some chat.
I listen to podcasts when I go to sleep, not music. Yeah,
exactly right. But look, I am exposed to. I mean, this is hardly new. I'd say this song must be 7 or 8 years old anyway. The original it would be my guess, but I'm only really exposed to. I'm only really exposed to this kind of music. This is a Britney Spears song originally, through either Susie or my children. I'm talking about just sort of mainstream pop music, and I'm very like whatever. It just goes over the top of my head most of the time. I don't hate it. I get that they enjoy it, and that's great. I'm all for that. I'm not going to be one of those musical snobs who talks down pop music. But I've got to say that if the original had had this rhythm, I would have enjoyed it. Because it just was all. I just love ska rhythms and stuff. I don't really play them that much, but in terms of listening, as simple as that offbeat on the guitar is there, it's just as simple as it is. It just freaking well works so
It makes
well.
It
just gives that little skip to. But I'm going to talk sort of directly down the barrel of the camera now to Jack. I know, to Pat. I think you sent me this song or sort of have a listen to the mix even as long as a year ago. Okay. I know that you've struggled with this song with many, many, many revisions. For God's sake, man, release it. It's done, okay? You need to get past this and move on. You're second-guessing it way too much. I can promise you in 20 years' time, you'll probably think the horns are too quiet or too loud or anything else, as we all do with all of our songs. Move on. You've done a great job. The next song, please. But by the way, well done for putting that together with lots of different people. I mean, good.
Yeah, and that's what Distro Kid's for. Put it out, release it, draw a line in the sand, and move the hell on because, I think there's plenty more inside of you that you need to get done, and you're only holding yourself back by nitpicking over that because at the end of the day, if heads are moving, then your song's grooving.
Yeah. Look, I listened to it with virgin ears, and, it really it excited me.
This shows how out of touch I am. Somebody's just put the date on there, 2003. I said about 7 or 8 years ago.
Man.
Man, I don't know.
7 years? What?
Yeah, I don't know.
I had to go and see Britney Spears once. My ex-wife took me. It was horrible.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Tell me.
God, it was
Tell
horrible.
me
The
about it.
sound
Tell me
of
about it.
screams, the children screaming. I felt like I was at a Wiggles concert. It was terrible. It was just like, get me out of here.
Oh, man. Yes. The last time I went down, I saw the Spice Girls once. That was a similar
saw them
experience.
too.
Oh, my God. Whatever. No, look. What wonderful fellow artists they are. Anyway. I just want to say to Pete, get stuffed, mate.
Yeah. Pete. Pete's the worst for yelling at clouds. The guy does it every day. Get off my lawn.
Oh, God, no, bless him. Thanks, Pete.
Yelling at clouds. Well, he is a moon spotter as well. One eye up, sort of. Good on you, Pete.
Anyway, I'm glad we're laughing because the last song we've got here, and this isn't even, I've got no segues left, thank goodness. This is a song called Laughter with Knives. We were mentioning earlier, Jack, about titles of songs being driven by some character of the actual music. And the title of this song is Obstruction, is by Laughter with Knives, who is actually one person, Andrew. And Andrew was telling me that the main sort of riff in this had been kicking around for years and years. And he'd been in different bands. And it never kind of really fitted in any way. And I think it's quite a simple riff, but it never really kind of fitted into anything he was doing. And that's why he ended up calling this piece of music Obstruction. Just because of that simple fact that it always seemed to be a barrier. So there you go. It's not your original idea to title your song in this way.
Yeah, it's great. And look, I love the title or the name Laughter with Knives is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great
That's
name.
good, isn't it? Laughter with Knives is great. So this is another instrumental. I don't believe, and I could be mistaken, that this is not intended for the same purpose as our last instrument. I think this is just intended to be a piece of electronic music. Again, this is his debut piece, so he's not released or recorded anything before this one, and he says he watched my channel to learn how to mix and master it. So if it's rubbish, it's my fault. Here we go. Obstruction. You guys need to unmute yourself, I guess.
I loved it. Look, I haven't heard a piece of music tonight that I wouldn't use in my YouTube adventures around Australia, and that
Check the
one
link
to
in the
me just-
description.
yeah, screamed out drone footage to me of some beautiful landscapes, and look, I just was really taken by that piece and the variations within it, and I loved them. I loved the ending on the what was that? Sort of like a kettle drum,
Something like that. Yeah.
yeah, like and yeah, just the changes that it went through. It was subtle, and I literally was going through a movie of drone footage of all different kinds of landscapes while listening to that, and I just thought I wouldn't change anything about it other than I'd love to hear it in stereo.
Yeah, give me in stereo. Give me in stereo. It's one of those songs I think that I'd love to sit down and do my YouTube work. And it's the kind of stuff I listen to when I'm preparing shows. I know Pete does that with. It's something I've picked up from Pete Johns. I try and find music that is relaxing and has subtlety and complexity at the same time. That's how the way it came in was wonderful,
It was
nice
great,
and subtle,
wasn't
and then it built lovely. It had nice changes in it. It kept me interested the whole way through. Again, electronic music, I struggled to like pick things out with electronic music because electronic music always seems so perfect. You know, it's so easy to put together. Not easy, but the instruments are so. Yeah, we have such a great selection of music ways to make electronic music these days. So I just think the song was captivating, kept me interested the whole way. That's the most important thing. Yeah, and the mix was. I'm sure in stereo it's going to sound way
Yeah.
better.
And you say about when the drums come in, one of the great things I loved about those drums coming in is that they were the snare was it popped and it was but it was had a subtleness about it.
Yeah.
So many people make the huge mistake of going for the biggest, most reverb, massive snare that they can get, whereas that one just hit the right frequencies, and it didn't take over the whole mix like
It kept the tone.
Yeah, it was really well done.
I felt that just at the moment when I think Mimo Japan mentioned in the chat that it was a bit Jean-Michel Jarre-ish, was exactly the point where I was thinking it, because it was when that double time rhythm came in, kind of about halfway through, which reminded me of some Jean-Michel Jarre stuff, which was very, very cool. And like I was going to mention, I think I have mentioned this before, that there's a real art to kind of judging when that change has to come. It's almost like you want to get people to the point where they go, oh, I'm almost bored with this. And then, you just, you don't go too early with it, because then it seems a bit erratic and it's all over the place. So that's, in my opinion, with that kind of music, that's where the real art is. We've got someone in the chat there, George, who writes instrumental music, but more like soundtrack, classical style music, and we were mentioning that with his music. He's really good at it as well. He knows when to bring in the change, either a change in rhythm or a change in arrangement, change in melody, whatever it is. So it's one of, this, Jack, it's key in music writing in general, is to have a sense of that, and to take people by surprise with that occasionally as well is a tricky thing to do.
I think what I liked about it too was that there was room in there too for a vocal. There was plenty of room for a vocal.
Absolutely, there was.
Which could even lift it more, that's a hard thing to achieve if you're writing an instrumental. So that to still leave enough room for a vocal and still be able to, as an instrumental, keep you hanging on, keep you interested as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Just as a by the way, I have already updated the links in the description, guys. So if anyone wants to, don't go now, don't go quite yet, but if you want to go there soon, then you may want to check that one out. That one is actually a YouTube link as well for that particular song, and I do seem to remember when I listened to it earlier that it was much better quality than we were hearing there. The other thing I kind of want to say, because that was really only about my third time to listen to that. To be honest with you, I hadn't listened to it all the way through. I'd already made decision by halfway through, yep, I'm going to play this on the show. So this is what I'm going to say about this. This is unusual for me. I think it's the first time it's happened for me. Well, maybe just the second time on the 4th episode here after 20 songs. I actually felt moved by that music as we were listening to it there. I got kind of lost in it. And I just really connected emotionally with something that was happening there. So, gosh, if anything ever does that to me, that's all. As Jade says, we could talk about production with some things till the cows come home, but it's irrelevant compared to does it grab you. And of course, it will be different for different people. But that's what it did for me. It just made me feel. Yeah.
I'll tell you what would take it to the next level. It's a video clip.
Yeah. He mentioned that little sort of animation, he did make that himself, and it was just a looped thing.
Yeah, and that's great too. But just a video clip with some actual moving images and stuff. That not only just pulls you in, it takes your whole face with it.
Drone footage
sucks you right in. Yeah,
but although I mean, I get you with the drone footage thing, Jack, but I think that it's worth more than that as well. I'd absolutely use it.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think it can
with a voiceover
just
as
a
well.
piece of music. I mean, I can listen to that as a piece of music.
No doubt.
Even a bunch of stock footage over that. You could, something like using Lunar Fusion or just stock footage. You can create some amazing stuff. A friend of my channel, Russ8889, he just uses a lot of simple stuff, stock footage, and it just takes the song to 11. It always does.
Yeah.
Because it takes you to another world. We all know how important video clips are these days, and I think that
no worries, laughter. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, and
Laughter with Knives. Love it.
The last thing I want to say about that song is that very quickly, early in the piece, it had me with my eyes closed, just letting the music take me with the flow, like some beautiful river, some stream that was changing in dynamics at various points. And yeah, I just loved it.
Yeah. It's a bit of a shame, actually. That's our last one, because I was sort of really enjoying listening to the music here this evening, and really enjoyed having you guys on the show, actually. It's really, really good. You kind of... I guess I thought that Jade was going to swear a lot more than she did. So thanks, Jade.
On my show, yes, not on other people's shows.
See, it's called self-control. That very disciplined of you. But no, seriously, it's been fantastic. It's lovely to have such a good old friend as Jack here. Just a guy that I've known for many years, and if you've had your music on the show tonight and he's made some comments, that I personally feel I haven't been in many sessions with you, Jack, but we've been in some sessions together, and you're always that voice in the room which is worth listening to during the middle of a session. Like, maybe that should be and sometimes with arrangement stuff as well. You've always got just an incredibly valuable opinion. So thanks for being here with that. And I wish I could share more of your music with.
Well, you and I, Mike, we've worked on so many different projects together, from film and television to jeepers, to websites, to open mic nights, and we've been so creatively involved with each other. And you are one of my favorite people in the whole world to work with. You're infinitely patient. And the way you approach problems as a problem solver, I don't know anyone better at it. So thanks, Mike, for inviting me. I've enjoyed every second. And Jade, it's been so lovely to meet you.
Oh, and by the way, as a part of some of our experience, we've been on the bones of our ass going to busk for $10 together before as well, which is where you do some real learning about music. Jade, can I just encourage everybody in the chat to follow that link to Jade Starr's YouTube channel? It's so much more creative than anything I do, enormously more creative than anything I do, and I just love it. But also, I only associate with people who have some heart in them. Every guest I have on the channel, I don't just have people for the sake of it. It's people with heart. It's people who care about other people, who care about the world they live in, and care about music through that as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and your input was great this evening. I've really appreciated it very, very much. You're
And
a
Jade,
star.
I count you among my friends now, Jade. So cheers for that.
100% back at you, my friend.
And now, finally, I just want to say thank you so much to the people in the chat. We've had a few people in here who've actually had their songs. Thank you for submitting your songs. And thank you all for taking, I hope it's constructive criticism, really, really well. It's important to be able to do that as a musician, okay? Because constructive criticism is the best kind you're going to get. Some of it's going to be mean. So we've all probably experienced some of that. So it's really great that you can do that and then use hopefully some of the comments that we've used to move on and move forward with your next recordings. And also I hope the people in the chat. Can I just do a bit of a shout out to specifically Mimo Japan, who's always a couple of hours different to me, and it joins me on so many live streams when it's really late in Japan, and is just a real star in terms of just taking a part in the community as well as creating great music as well, by the way, Mimo. So thank you for that. So again, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone here. We'll move to the post show where things get really interesting. But
This gone.
gotta get that to the post show. But don't forget to look out for my post Thursday around about this time, within an hour or two, folks. I hope you'll join me again next week. And for all of the weeks, I've got this planned all the way up till Christmas now at the moment, and then we'll review it and see how it's going. By the way, I'm going to just have only 3 or 4 songs in future episodes. The 5 does keep us here for a while because I do like to chat as well as my guests. But thank you so much for joining us. See you next week. I'll leave the final word to Jackdog.
I can't wait to get out of lockdown so I can finally be alone.
Yeah.